Now I'll call a town council meeting to order, Colorado Springs. Call the roll, Joe.
Robert Miller.
Here.
Jeff Bass.
Here.
Kenny Brown.
Here.
Jason Stiltman.
Here.
Jeff Denton.
Here.
James Rummett.
Here.
We all here. We have a quorum.
Okay, if you want to lead some prayer, then we'll do the flag.
Our Father, we come humbly approach thy throne of grace, and we pray that you offer us your mercy and your wisdom. We thank you for all the blessings you've given us. We thank you for who you are and what you have done, what you have promised. May we seek your promises and seek to follow your promises once we seal them in our hearts. We pray for these men as we deliberate that you would help us to manage what you have given us. We pray for our servicemen and women at home and abroad, and the first responders and all the folks that are on the front lines here at home. And we pray you would offer them peace, hope, and comfort, and let them know that you are great and you are powerful and you love them, and there is much yet to be done, and one day we'll be home with you rejoicing and worshiping you. We ask all these things in thy Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge. Kitchen, food, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we need to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay. Motion and a second. Motion Mr. Edlin and Mr. Brummett second. Okay. Call the roll, please, Joe.
Robert Miller.
Is there any more comments on the minute? Yes. You don't?
Robert Miller.
Okay.
Pass.
Kenny Brown.
Yes.
Jason Stiltman.
Yes.
Jeff Denton.
Yes.
James Rummett.
Yes.
It passed 5-01.
Any citizens in the audience would like to say anything? We got one citizen back there at least. Okay. I'll save my updates for later. I don't have that many. This will be short and sweet. I think, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
I want her to get to it.
I'd like to start with, this was brought to me today at 4 o'clock, and these are bills that were not mailed out. So anyone that hasn't received their bill that's inside of Clinton, the reason is that they weren't mailed out, they got misplaced. This month there will be no cutoffs, and also they'll be applied because this is our fault. These are going to get mailed out in the morning. I just got them. We'll also look in and review to see what happened, so this doesn't happen again. This is a really big deal to me, and I'm actually very upset about it. So there will be no cutoffs this month, and there will be no late fees applied to anyone, and these will be mailed off in the morning.
How many there, Thomas?
Don't know. Maybe 500.
Easy.
Yeah, they've been
These are brought to me today.
posting about it. Down friends with up in the county and around.
Yep.
You're saying the water bills have not gone out yet?
No.
All of them have, except for this one stack. We found
Quick
it.
Tray has went out, and that tray will hold almost all of our water bills except that.
Okay.
This
A
one.
mail tray, if you know what a mail tray looks like.
How do I put that in the minutes, that there's several hundred?
Yes, you could put approximately 500 bills for the Clinton area was not mailed out.
But 37716, and that covers it
Yes.
pretty much.
And it was brought to my attention today at 4 o'clock. We'll mail it out in the morning, but because of this mistake, they will not be a cutoff list produced this month, and there will not be late fees this month.
Also, whoever takes them to Oak Ridge, ask them if they could be mailed out of Clinton's office. If
Okay.
it's all in Clinton zip, without one in Oxford.
Okay. And also there was a delay with the dumpster removal down at the shop, and because of that delay, spring cleanup, jump pickup will be extended on both sides of town until April 23rd. We had called the Waste Connections, and there somehow was a delay of about 2 or 3 days for them to come and pick it up. But they did come and pick it up. Because of that, it delayed one of our areas, so we've extended it up until the 23rd for both east and west sides of town. And also the streets crew has completed the mulch at the Arrowhead Park Playground, and the Carmichael Park is next on the list to get the mulch in. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, on the dumpsters, there's still 2 full over there, they brought them empty. There's still 2 full dumpsters over there, and they brought them empty. I don't know if
We
they,
filled them up.
we filled them up today?
We filled them up.
Okay. Well, good, they did bring them, we got the 3rd one already.
Yeah, we gotta get them pulled again.
Okay, and I did see the guys out trying to get grass mowed when I came in while ago.
They've been working late, doing a good job.
We got a lot to catch up on, for sure. Okay, no?
Yes, sir. I'd like to apologize for being out for the last few months, but we had some things happen that just couldn't be avoided, so. I'd like to thank the folks that's doing the pothole paving.
Yes.
I would really like to thank them because then they have done a fantastic job on what they have done. They really have. I don't know how much money we've spent out of the paving.
You don't wanna know, but they do a good job.
But, we do have some left.
Yeah, well, a lot of the work they've been doing, like on the work on East Spring Street, that's out of the TDOT fund, so TDOT reimburses us for that. And a lot of the water cuts come out of the water and sewer fund, so only about 9,000 so far has been spent out of general fund.
Street fund.
But a large amount has been spent out of water and sewer fund and has been sent to TDOT. Just the repairs on East Spring Street alone, all those repairs costed around $25,000. But that's a TDOT reimbursable, and we've sent the bill into them to.
They have done a fantastic job, they really have. I'd like to thank them from the bottom of my heart. And my vehicle too.
I'll just go through it.
Pardon?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I just had to the front end of it. We've, I know I hate to get on this, but we got some places in town, my neck of the woods, that needs either some letters sent or some knocks on some doors.
It's being done.
Pardon?
It's being done.
Well, I had it brought to my attention. And,
Do you want us to ask him to patrol that whole area and do the whole
he needs to start at Caldwell Circle and come this way. He'll get him 2 notebooks full.
Okay. Okay.
So, no, we got a little lenient on that stuff last year, and there wasn't a whole lot of enforcement done on it, but I think we need to get back on the horse and start riding again, so.
One of the things that, if I can interrupt, that I had discussed with Thomas is bringing a list of stuff to him that I identified. And I've been working on that in this area, and we were going to spread out. It's tough to do with running a business also. But, we are aggressively going after this stuff.
But I noticed that this past weekend, I got out and did a good hard look, but I had some folks contact me and said, hey, you're slacking. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna say it's because of COVID. I said, but
It has, some of it has been COVID.
I think things can start ramping back up again.
Yeah, we'll get him to go down.
You give somebody $1,100 a week not to work, and then
I'm telling
you
you.
tell them to stay in the house, they're not gonna do a lot of work.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but that's all I got, sir.
okay, this guy.
I'd like to thank the city workers for the work they're doing on the cleanup. It's sure good. They're promptly, I mean, there's not, you'll see something sitting out and you'll drive by the next day and it's gone. So, just they're doing their work and quick response to the water department on some of these leaks that we've been having. I seen one last night and called it. And they was there within 15, 20 minutes. Wow. To look at the leak to determine whether it was us or them. I mean, because it was coming out like a water hose. Out of the side of the bank, you see it with no problem. I can in on that. And that's all I have at this time.
Mr. Brown.
I'm just curious, have we got any kind of more of a schedule on the curve up there, going past the garage, going into Wind Rock? The one that's washing away?
Yeah, we discussed that the other day. We gotta get some chirp rock. We gotta dig it out, put chirp rock in. We have an A-wrap already for it that's good for 1 year. The permit is for the aquatics protection. But we've gotta get like a
like a supervisor that has done those before, because none of us here has ever done erosion control with an ARAP that followed certain permit requirements. So there are certain things that has to be done. We had a guy lined up, but we missed the window because of COVID-19. Everybody kind of had to, go their own directions. But then he moved to California, so now we're in the waiting in the wings for somebody else that can supervise that work. We can do the work, but we need guidance on what to do, because it's in a creek bed, and there's a lot of rules on a creek bed. So it's in the works, is the
Is
answer.
this part of our funds, or Anderson County gonna have us?
This is all us.
All
This is road protection.
And we have something in the budget for it, do it?
No.
Is there any, I know I asked this last time, any more update on the red light? And
It should be completed by October, is the last thing I heard.
that's getting
We
started.
just got a message on us the other day, we're having another meeting,
Yeah, there's a meeting coming up.
another engineering meeting, with all the utilities and everybody next week,
I think it was 26, was it?
I think. It's scheduled, it's.
It's been scheduled for, what, a year, or?
Well, it was scheduled the year before last.
Yeah.
And they canceled it, and they rejuvenated it, because they couldn't find gas lines that's supposed to be in the ground over there, and there was nobody gonna dig anywhere for posts. And, so that was thrown back into a utility, and utilities has finally discovered where everything's at, I think. I don't know if you have any better luck than I do, we get the state to do it.
Yeah.
The state road department,
Yeah.
state railroad department. But if you do, feel free to come on in, and I'll let you use my phone.
Okay.
I'll pay the phone bill.
I say, they said this. I'm curious to know too,
The red light's working fine right now. I mean, it's just gonna be more, look better, and it'll be,
is it on us as a city or the county? I know it's coming out of Oak Ridge. There's little reflectors in the middle of the 4 lanes on both sides. And you get right down Oliver Springs to the red light and it stops. And you get right out here to the Rome County line and it starts back up again. Now, is there something that the city is supposed to mandate that, or is that a
you're
county?
talking about the center line, we got the reflectors in the center line.
There are reflectors in the center line everywhere, but from the red light down here to the Rome County.
Well, there was in all of them, they repaved it.
Well, is there something to get them to redo? Because that does make a difference. I mean, you coming down Hilltop, everybody, and I'm sure that everybody comes down that road, you can see them in the dark, but there's not that many street lights. But when you get into the red light there, and from there on in to Oliver Springs, down here to the Rome County line, it starts back up again.
I know a guy at T-Dot that I can ask.
Yeah.
I'll do that for you. I'll ask him, I'll give you
Yeah,
the...
that is a help. I mean, for whatever, with our street light system and stuff like that, and it does make a difference. And especially going down this road here, even though it just goes, and once you turn into a 2-lane, it's a totally different story. But check on that for me, and if you give me an answer, I appreciate it. And other than that, that's all I got.
Still there.
So Thomas really does wish that I'd get a new job. I call him all the time, and so I just want to start off by saying it is an honor and a privilege to serve the city of Oliver Springs and the citizens in the town. And I've been sitting here for a year and a half, and for the first year I was extremely busy with business, and it's hard to delegate time between family, business, city, church, the whole 9 yards. Well, obviously, due to my injury, and now that I'm just down to physical therapy, I don't have 4 different therapies I'm going to on a day-by-day basis. I have a lot more time to dedicate to the city and helping. For instance, I've been down to the police department twice now, Officer Waxman. I've been down to the maintenance building a couple times, and have seen where we have fallen short, where we think things are really good and really they're not. Things are falling apart. Buildings are falling apart, and so and they need upgrades. And I think of, just bear with me for a minute as I kind of wander through this. I think of the parable when Jesus talked about the talents, right? The ruler or the landlord left, and he left certain servants with certain talents. And then he left. And when he came back, he wanted to know what was done with those talents that he gave. Some of them, or one of them, didn't do anything. The other one multiplied a little, and the other one multiplied a lot, right? That's how the story goes. And I think of the town of Oliver Springs. In 1900, we were one of the premier tourist destinations in America. Why? Because of our springs, right? That's true. The railroad and the springs. Then our town basically burnt. And then we had the coal revolution of the, 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s. It profited our town greatly, right? I mean, it did. It helped the citizens, business owners. Still to this day, coal has played an influential part in our town. So now here we are. We are one of the top 3 or top 5 ecotourism destinations in America. The numbers don't lie. Windrock Mountain is a juggernaut. A juggernaut. The city of Oak Ridge is sponsoring events on Windrock Mountain, and I think they have one coming up if I'm not mistaken. But yet here we are. How do we benefit and how do we prosper our citizens, our employees, our fire department, our police department? How are we benefiting them from that mountain? The question is, or the answer is, we're not. Are we? Has any one of us cast a vision? Have anyone in the past, any of the mayors of the past, cast a vision that, hey, do I want to see property taxes increased? No. No, I don't. But do I want our police officers to have the best and the finest? Yes, I do. Do I want our fire department to have the best and the finest? Yes, I do. Do I want our street department to have the best and the finest? Yes, I do. Do I want Thomas to be paid, something like what Harriman or Kingston city manager makes? Yes, I do. Why? Because I have a vision for our city to go forward. And that mountain, and I realize it can be a touchy subject and a sore spot for some, but if you sit back and watch, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people that ascend on that mountain every week. And we as a town, we're just a sleepy little town, and we let them come in, we let them spend their money in Oak Ridge, and then they go home. So, that's my little soapbox. Street guys are doing a phenomenal job. Street crew, I know they're down. The guys that are paving are doing an awesome job. Awesome. That's one of the best paving jobs I've ever seen, and I drive hundreds of miles every week. And so shout out to those guys. And going forward, and I know it's a tall order, right?
It's not that tall, but when you get through, I've got a couple comments.
Yes, sir.
On what
Yes,
you
sir.
said.
Yeah.
And I've said it here many a time. This town could not wait to tear a railroad down to get a 4-lane through it to bypass it.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
They tore the railroad down, they tore the incline down the mountain, so you give away with Chattanooga already, okay?
Right.
Right now, who in this town is gonna put anything in it? I know you've gotta bring people to it to spend.
Right.
But
Sure.
I hear you guys on the planning commission say the same thing. Somebody's gotta come up with some ideas. Who's gonna buy property here that's vacant, that's can hold anything? VJ's got a property out there for sale right now that would make a nice hotel.
For sure.
But I know somebody's gonna pay $1 million for it.
Right.
But again, I just want you to know that things aren't as easy as they appear to be.
Wow.
The visions are good to have,
Right.
and I hope you all have visions way after I'm gone, and great visions, but they're not easy to accumulate without raising taxes a whole lot.
For sure.
If you're going to sponsor a town, you got to have the man that's on our committee here in town that is the president or he's the manager of the Windrock. He don't really care if we develop anything now because he's got it up there. He's got the gas station, he's got the store, he's got a pressure washer used for a car wash.
Yeah.
He's made that statement in public. When you can't work with somebody that's going to 2 lawyers and sitting on Gay Street, they're not over here every day.
For sure.
He is.
For sure.
and we can work together and accomplish things, but it don't take one or two guys here. He and I can't do it.
Right,
That's what this council, that's what planning commission's
for sure, for sure.
Okay,
Mr.
So
Mayor?
you said your speech was good.
For those of you who don't know, I served, I think, 4 or 5 years in the Northern County Chamber of Commerce in the 1980s. Went to Kingston, and my wife served on the tourism committee for the Anderson County Chamber of Commerce for a number of years, as I recall, because I helped put together a slide projection for Anderson County that would be put in one of the rest stops just inside the Tennessee line maybe. It emphasized the Museum of Appalachia up there. But to answer Jason Stiltner question directly, town council can vote to appropriate approximately $100,000 for a budget to create a tourism council and hire a full-time tourism director at $50,000 a year, along with the secretary, and give him a travel budget and an advertising budget. And we can do a lot of things. But see, notice I said $100,000. Could be more, could be $150,000.
Right.
Because as part of my wife's adventures with the tourism committee, of course, my father-in-law had a farm in Waverly and we'd drive down there. But occasionally the tourism committee would print slick back color brochures, the kind that fold up, and they're about yay size, and you fold them out and they're about this size. And we stopped at 2 of the rest centers between Oliver Springs and Waverly and put those in there, where tourists come in there and they pick them up. And the stack of brochures were $1,000 a piece. Not a piece, but for a block.
For box office.
Yeah, a box of them. Because they were 3-colored or 4-colored and they were slick back, they were professionally done. You gotta have somebody design them, you gotta take the pictures, you gotta write the text. And because I remember my wife and I commented that, it's just like going in and leaving $10, $100 bills in the slot where tourists can pull out those $100 bills. Of course, you get revenue out of it. So, it's easy to do if you put the money to it.
For sure.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
You can have industrial development too, to the extent it can be done inside the city. Like a hotel, you're gonna spend $4 million for a hotel. Well, you gotta have somebody who can run it.
Right.
And I have learned as an investor that if you invest in a business, you don't know what you're doing, you might end up losing a lot of money. And if it doesn't go well, you gotta quit what you're doing and go to work and run that business. Even though you don't know what you're doing, you gotta learn. If you learn, you get out of it. If you don't learn, you end up in bankruptcy court.
For sure.
I mean, I've been down that road personally, not in bankruptcy court, but I've been in successful businesses and I've been in businesses that haven't been successful.
Yeah.
We sold one business years ago and had to pay a bunch of money to get out of it because I owed so much money. Won't name names, it wouldn't do any good, but just trust me. I got my master's in business administration from that practical school. So it can be solved.
Yeah.
But what's the tax rate gonna go up for a $150,000 budget?
For sure.
So, see, it's there. You just have to want it, and your citizens have to support it.
For sure.
Because if we vote whatever the $150,000 tax rate increase would be, are they gonna come down here and protest vigorously?
Right. True.
Because it's very difficult to commit X dollars today, hoping to get, say you commit $100,000 today, get a $20,000 return in 2 or 3 years, and keep that money coming in terms of profits.
Right.
It's not the easiest thing to do.
And I will say this, and I realize, we were under the moratorium for what, 4 years, 4.5 years? 5 years?
6 years.
So, that hampered us greatly, right? It handcuffed
Couldn't
us.
allow a building
Right,
to increase water flow.
right. It greatly hampered us. And, however, now, and Windrock, a lot has tried to bypass us as a town, and I get that. They built their own, but there are things we can do here, right? For instance, the Airbnb. Let's get that on the books. Let's go ahead and have our public hearing. I know it was scheduled in January. Obviously it was right after my surgeries and I wasn't able to attend, but let's go ahead and get that on the books so we can have our public hearings. So we can, they're here. I see them parked at houses. I can't help but see it. That could be hundreds of dollars a week, which translates into thousands of dollars a month that we're missing out on, right? So, that's something that we can do.
Well, here's what the questions I've had asked so far. Would you want a different person living in your house every day? A lot of
Yes.
people, it's gonna be that way.
Yes.
A different set of people.
And I offer this input, the alley between First Baptist Church and where the Methodist Church used to be when I was a kid, there's a rental house now. It's called to my attention, and I saw it myself, is that's an Airbnb or whatever they call them.
Right.
And there were at least 2, if not 4 trucks with trailers with 4-wheelers on them parked. 2 of them are blocking the public alley.
Right.
And 2 of them are parked on the First Baptist Church former parsonage lot. That's a parking lot that had gravel on it, but the grass grew over because there hadn't been that much trouble. Traffic, kind of like an overflow parking for sharps in the church. And not that I'll say I minded that a whole lot, but they're blocking an alley.
For sure.
And that property owner did not have a parking area for those vehicles
Right.
on the property itself because it was all grass and it was all low spot. Now, if we say they can't block the alleyway, and if we say they can't park on the church parking lot, then they're gonna park on the street. And see what kind of difficulty will that be on Roan Avenue during the school times, because in the afternoon, the school traffic is blocked, is backed up all the way down to what I call the Charlie Reeves restaurant area,
Right.
for those of you who remember.
And that's when
Near
it
the
comes.
Fudge Factory today.
And that's when it comes down to, like the planning commission, we have, it's a permit-based system. You have to go to Thomas to get your permit, then we inspect, yes, this is a good place for one, or no, it's not. There are rules that the police department can cite people for, if they're illegally parked, or, if they're illegally parking in the church parking, then they're cited. They're fined. But right now, there's no teeth to anything. So we're losing out on thousands of dollars because they're here regardless of whether we pass something or not. Right or wrong? Am I right or wrong?
I would agree in principle, but when you put requirements, like in the example I was talking about, and the homeowner's got to spend $5,000 to fill and gravel a parking lot, they're gonna say, I just won't rent it. And then you don't have your fee. And you got to be careful when you say you're gonna have thousands of dollars coming in. In a perfect world, you'd send our city manager, somebody around to inventory all the areas that are houses now that's currently being used for B&B, and see, then you'd get an approximate number of the people that are doing the B&B business. Then you would also at the same time see if they can be issued a permit with proposed regulations, or whether they'll have to spend a whole lot of money or a little bit of money to come into compliance. And then a good number of them won't spend any money. A good number of them will go underground too. And then when you come up with your best guess estimated projection, then you know exactly how much, not exactly, but you have a better guesstimate as to your revenue that you will generate. And see, you may have to pay somebody $30,000 or $40,000 a year for a full-time job to do that, and would it generate $30,000 or $40,000 a year?
And I'm not being argumentative when I
Yeah.
say this, okay? So please take this with a grain of salt. This is what I'm talking about. We're trying to go forward, and we've already met opposition right here, twice, right?
I do not consider what I'm saying opposition.
I don't either. I just suggested, I've got the correct thing off the computer on my desk right now about RMEs, and I've told Jay about it. I've told you guys you can have them. We cancel a meeting this Tuesday, or this coming Monday.
What I
Have we
think,
not?
what I was saying is that you
And we
have to
cancel a meeting that
plan.
could be working toward that.
You mentioned the biblical allegory. There's another example where Christ says that when a fellow gets ready to build a tower, he goes out and gets an estimate. When a king gets ready to go to war, he figures out his troops and how many troops the other side would have. So this is called planning and cost projections. You mentioned the coal business. I was very blessed that my father-in-law was a coal executive, and as a young man, he trained me how to run cost projections. He trained me how to figure out what it cost to set up a coal mine, and then how much coal you had to run daily and weekly to meet that cost projection to break even and make some money, make some profit. So what I'm saying is that you need to thoroughly study this in terms of not only enforcement, but revenue projection and how it's going to be enforced. Will you have to add 2 or 3 more police officers simply to do the enforcement? Quite candidly, in my humble opinion, we're a couple of officers short now.
For sure.
And I'm talking about not necessarily the fact that there may not be positions filled. I say we need to add 2 or 3 more positions.
Right.
See? So it's kind of like having an old car. If you put a new engine in it, you put stress on the transmission. You replace the transmission, you put stress on the differential and the axles and whatnot. And first thing you know, you got to rebuild the whole car.
Sure.
And to me, it's not being in opposition. It's saying let's be very careful and plan, because we have a very important duty here. It's called a fiduciary duty, that we have to wisely manage the taxpayers' money that they have entrusted with us.
Right.
And you know, it's called cost projections, and a good businessman will do that, and he will figure out how he could start in maybe at a small level and then grow the business.
So Thomas, have we discussed recently about a codes enforcement, making a position for codes enforcement going forward?
Yes, I think that'd be a very good idea. I think that a codes enforcement, a dedicated position, of course, you know, we would need to keep Glenn Kofer for what
For
he
sure.
does and Dan Hawk for what he does.
Yes.
But a local guy that does nothing but that, and that's exactly all he does. Because as you all know, it takes so long, because he finds a code enforcement issue, he writes him a letter, gives him, that takes time to get there, it gives him so many days to finish it, then so many more days for a follow-up letter because they didn't finish it, and then another letter, take him to court, and Joe will give him time to finish it, and before you know it, months have passed, months and months, and but most people will clean up immediately.
Now, you mentioned the city court. Well, I need to remind you that all the city judge can do is a $50 fine plus costs, and each day is a different offense.
For sure.
So if you want to get a court order requiring that person to tear it down or improve it or whatever, you file it in Rome County Chancery Court, and see, there's more attorney's fees and court costs and expenses, because it costs you probably several $1,000s from the time, in attorney's fees and court costs by the time you filed it to the time you got your court order. Then if the guy doesn't do it, you got to take him back to court. More time, more money. You may or may not get your money back out of that guy.
Cost about 10 years and $7,000 to get rid of one house.
Yeah.
But it would make a big difference.
It would. It would. So two last things, and I'll will pass it on to Mr. Denton. When I say casting a vision, here's something that as I pass through the town of Oliver Springs, and I would love to see happen, is for us to build a new police department, fire hall, EMS, and courthouse all in one. Have it in one central location with town hall down here, and out front maybe even have a splash pad for kids and families. Something that, you know, we as a town, when people come in, and they come in by the thousands, and they see this, like, hey, this is nice. This is, you know, this is a nice, it may be a sleepy town, you know, but it's a good town. And something that we can all take pride in. I know we have built parks, which are nice. We've built concession stand downtown, very nice. But I think after just thinking about this and mulling it over, I would like to cast that vision that us as a council, mayor, city manager, let's look at it. Let's take a hard look at it and have some conversations with some folks. And I've already had a couple conversations with people who own land who would be willing to look at selling us the land, and then us build a building that would last us for the next 30, 40, 50 years. And we as a town could take some serious pride in and be like, hey, welcome to Oliver Springs, you know? So with all that being said, thank you for your time. I please don't think I was being disrespectful. I wasn't.
I'm not being disrespectful or counteracting you, but I'll say you're on 2 boards in this town,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Yes.
Both of you guys are on 2 boards in this town. If you're gonna get something done, don't miss scheduled meetings. If you got a meeting coming up, don't call a meeting off. Dan Hawk's not with us anymore.
Yes.
Dan Hawk retired. We got a lady that used to be the manager of Oak Ridge, same thing she does here. She's great. She's worked at this stuff a long time, and she'll be a lot of help. We're gonna pay her the same wages we paid Dan Hawk. But that you guys voted that pay for him. But no, I'm not criticizing what your effort is, but when you start taking money to the bank and try to borrow money and beg for loans and things, Jeff should know how hard it is to get money from the state or anybody else. They don't give it to you, you gotta pay a lot of it back. It's not that, you've got so many people here like me that's older. I was gone for 30 years and I missed the town all the time I was gone. And I got tired of the noise in Vietnam. And I come back here and I get the same thing running up down my street 2 o'clock in the morning with four-wheelers. Makes me want to roll out of bed and shoot, but I don't. But some people that live, with good distances from these areas and things that don't bother them. So they could pull a lot harder than I might do that. So I'm not mad at you. Good job.
Yeah, I haven't paid anything.
Mr. Robert.
I don't have much. I will say this, and that patch has already kind of been cut, but partnerships with Coal Creek, I think that's going to be the quickest low-hanging fruit, and that's already been proven. And they've got the wherewithal to handle about any kind of project you want to. So I'm not certainly not disagreeing. But I think that's, like I said, that's the nearest thing I think that we just need to enhance our partnership with Coal Creek, whatever the partnership is.
For sure.
Well, he and I attended a meeting Tuesday. We meet with the city managers, mayors of the general 200 counties and cities. If y'all have been reading the news, the museum, the Appalachian Museum, they're putting in a campsite right now. They're going to flick right off the interstate. Coal Creek, or not Coal Creek, Dollywood, what's the name of it? Lake City.
Yeah, that's it.
I've called it every name it has been in the past. They've opened their town up to that. Some say it's the biggest thing that they've ever done, the best thing they've ever done. Some say it's the worst thing they've ever done. We don't just sit back and take phone calls and stuff. We're kind of looking around for things that we can do. But again, when we have one planning commission meeting a month and a hearing to those that can't comply with the standards of meeting once a month, this meets twice a month. We can't afford to miss meetings, and we got to have people there that can speak on it, such as you did. Okay, that's all I got. I'm off my horse. Who's next? Anybody?
Police chief.
Chief or Kevin? Got Maxon's up next.
The whole thing I have for you is today, I've got two things. One, I guess y'all seen as soon as you came in, it's a standard operating procedure manual for a police department. Basically, one of the first and foremost things you gotta have is rules set forth to your officers, how you want them to conduct every situation they could come in. Generally, by practice, by rule, we've been a department by memo. I don't feel like that's adequate. We have reached out in the past, Chief Morgan had also been a part of this, reaching out to the Chiefs Association. And we had a standardized policy given to us from the state of Tennessee that like Ashland City and a few other towns our size had passed before. We kind of put our stamp on it, got it prepared for you to look at. I don't know if this is something that y'all want to mull over for the next couple of weeks or if this is something that y'all are ready to look upon tonight. It's up to y'all. But I just feel like liability reasons, things that can happen with an officer in a situation in today's climate with law enforcement, y'all need to set us a standard of rules that y'all want us to abide by, and that's what this is.
I'll make a motion that we approve this, and this supersedes anything prior to that.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
How many different cities and towns did you go to, David?
Basically what happened is the Chiefs Association, which is the state of Tennessee that represents all of the chiefs of police in the state of Tennessee, they had their attorneys draft this. We had one city actually take it, was one of the first ones, which was Ashland City, took it to their city attorneys, and everything has molded up to be what this is today. So generally, it's been looked at by several sets of attorneys, and then been through one city completely, and it's passed as their general orders. So it is the state standard.
Most up to date?
Yes, up to today's date, yes, sir.
Any more discussion? And motion is second, call roll, John.
Robert Miller.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Bass.
Yes.
Kenny Brown.
Yes.
Jason Stiller.
Yes.
Jeff Benton.
Yes.
James Brummel.
Yes.
Passed.
We got a fire chief here?
Yes.
I just have one.
One, so, okay, go ahead, I'm
If
sorry.
you don't mind. I know y'all had already talked in the past about purchasing the vehicles, and we have some grant money that has come available that Thomas has allowed the police department to have. I have enough money in the drug fund to go along with it to purchase 2 new vehicles. What I'm kind of asking tonight, without discussion, if you want to, I'm more than willing, is to allow the mayor to assist me with this and purchase the 2 new vehicles for our police department.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion, got a second, any further discussion?
What's the deal with the 2 new trucks we had like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago?
They were purchased used. They were not brand new vehicles.
Those
The
trucks?
two Dodge Ram trucks we
Yeah.
bought out of Florida, they both had, I think, about 80,000 miles on them, but were fully equipped.
We
One
did
at
put
70,
a,
one at 80.
we put a new motor in one of them, right?
Yes, sir.
Is it still running good?
Yes, sir.
And then the other one is not giving us any trouble?
No, it's not had any issue so far.
Now, what kind of vehicles are we gonna get this time?
So this is what I'm asking for is one Dodge Durango and one Dodge Charger. I found that there's a significant difference in pricing when I've looked through the prices between like the Ford Explorer, the Dodge Durangos, and the Dodge Chargers as patrol cars. Since I've been here for 16 years, I've noticed that the SUVs tend to use a lot more gas, have a lot more things that can tear up, and generally have a higher maintenance cost. So I don't want to completely cast away using cars, and that's why I asked, we've gotten the trucks. If I could get one more SUV and one more car, I think that will set us good until we get into, within our budgets to start purchasing a car a year. I think this will catch us up tremendously.
And the 2 that's gonna be disposed, is that correct, or sold, or put on the market, or they just, we don't have to?
Well, we have 2 that are not really in operating
Okay.
condition. I have one Chevrolet Impala that is at its last leg, and I have the Chevy Tahoe, which has in the past become a carbon monoxide issue with an officer. So it is generally just if your car's being worked on, you jump in it, drive it home, and get out of it.
Would you saying it's something that we put on the market for,
Yes, sir.
to resell? Okay. That's all right.
Question, or point of order. The motion that I've written, motion by Miller and second by Stiller to authorize the purchase of a 1 Dodge Durango and 1 Dodge Charger with the approval of the mayor using grant money and money from the drug fund. Do you want to put a top dollar on it, like 30 or 40,000, or do you just want to leave it open-ended?
He has those numbers.
Yeah.
Authorize the mayor to,
Not exceed.
not exceed something, and authorize the mayor
You got a price on
to
those,
sign
right?
off on it?
So the purchase of the 2 vehicles and all the equipment needed and installed is not going to break 70,000. It'll be 69,540 with the bids from 2 different locations that will outfit the cars for us and the purchase of them. The savings between the 3 is going to be about $10,000 cheaper to go with the car and the Durango. And so the top dollar would be $69,540 to equip both vehicles and put them on the road.
Not to exceed
Is that
70.
a state bid, David?
Yes, sir. And it's at the same place that Thomas has already purchased one of his vehicles from. He gave me that contact, and we were able to get a really good deal that beat every other agency and, I guess, dealership by 10 grand.
Wow.
They are new, right?
Brand new, yes, sir.
Same include radios, David?
The radios we just purchased with the previous grant, so we already have brand new
We got-
Valley radios to go in them. I was talking today with GHSO, they've got some money coming up to where I can buy some more radars. So this money right here will have them fully equipped, and it may end up coming out cheaper than that.
I had enough to exceed $70,000, is that in agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
No, sir.
Nope, we got a motion, got a second, any more discussion?
Now, that's on the state bid where it doesn't have to, state quote, so it doesn't have to be on bids.
Yes, sir.
It's already been bidded, yes, sir.
Motion is second, any more questions, any more discussion? Call roll, Joe.
Robert Miller,
Yes, sir.
Jeff Bass.
Yes.
Kenny Brown.
Yes.
Jason Stiller.
Yes.
Jeff Denton.
Yes.
James Brummel. Passed.
Chief Fireman, you
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
got anything?
I got a question, Justin.
Yes,
Where's the engine?
the engine is in the shop right now. We sent it in for a valve that was being replaced, and in the process of that, with their DOT inspection, they found a broke leaf spring, which we believe happened when we went on a mutual aid call into Blair, off-road, road out driveway. And it's been repaired. Actually, it'll be back tomorrow, and we'll have a final price tag on that afterwards.
Which engine?
Engine 2, the one we just bought. That went through Thomas after the, hey, this is broke, it's DOT, it's got to be fixed. So we went ahead and went through all 4 leaf springs.
Freightliner do it?
Huh?
Did Freightliner do it?
No, VST done it. That's where we had the valve being replaced. So I had 2 valves that were being replaced. I bidded it out between Cumberland, BST, and not Safe Industries, that's who's BST now, but EDS. And that was 2 coming in and then 1 local, BST, 1 mountain. So in that, we've got leaf springs, brakes, and the 2 valves replaced. So we'll come back, right now, I'm probably 14,000. That
How
was
much you got in maintenance?
10. So that'll be moved around. I've not spent anything out of like PPE and stuff like that, so I'll have to move the stuff. But it'll be back this week.
Hey, question, forgive my
No.
lack of knowledge. The fire department, do we do any type of fundraising?
We do not. We're tax funded.
Do you receive county funds?
We do not. We receive,
One, can't do both.
yeah, we receive the only county funding that we receive is from Harrison County, that's the truck grant, every so often, which is most likely going to be going away. So, that's a thing, it's going to be going away, and most likely it'll end up turning into a one-time fee per year per department.
It used to be 16,500, didn't it?
So the county funding, like the truck, was 170,000
Right.
for every year.
An operating skeleton that they was doing for all the fire departments. Of course, it might be different here. I mean, just the fact it's a city, but anyway, it's, good while it lasted.
We got the first free one that Anderson County put out,
Second.
second one.
Second.
And they're not even through the group, and they're going to have to quit, I think.
This year will be the last one. And it's in its current form. They're currently trying to revise it and working on some grant stuff. We don't know. It's right now, we're between the operations committee and the Fire Chiefs Association, so they still work on it. Trying to keep the grant funding, but, you know, I don't know what the will of the county is at this point.
And we might have to go to eventually TDD and get some funding, maybe. If we try, and I know you've not had a lot of luck with them lately, but. Okay, anything else?
That's it, man.
All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any more questions for you?
Thank you, Justin.
You're welcome.
Any old business? Any old business? New business, discussion and approval of hiring Wendy Dean and Justin Turpin full-time, 90 days trial is completed on both.
They did a really good job. They tried both of them.
Do you recommend
I
them?
100% recommend it.
I'll make a motion. We already voted.
Motion and second, any more discussion? Call the roll, please, Joe.
Robert Miller,
Yes, sir.
Jeff Bass,
Yes.
Kenny Brown,
Yes.
Jason Stiltman,
Yes.
Jeff Duncan,
Yes.
Jeff Denton, James Brummett.
Yes.
Passed.
Discuss and possibly approve an addition as head count to street department, replacing Buster Jones' position as street maintenance worker / inmate guard position.
Yes, as you all know, Buster Jones was a contractor, and he has given his 30-day notice, so he has quit effectively. And one of the ideas is to have a full-time employee that actually does street maintenance work, and then he can also pick the inmates up. I spoke with the warden said that he can get trained, whoever we hire, if this is approved. Where the money's gonna come from is basically Buster was making $16.33, and this employee will be making around $12.13. Also, as you all may or may not know, Tony Brown has also retired.
So the replacement for Tony Brown will also be a lot less paid employee because Tony Brown had 40 years experience. And with that money, it'll pay for the insurance and benefits that this employee will get. The reason why I'm asking for addition to headcount is because we have an approved position schedule. The approved position schedule lists on it every department and every number of employee, which means that you can never go over that. And I give that to you guys to approve that because there can only be one supervisor in each department. There can only be, so many people that have, if there's a crew leader position available, but it's not put in here, then it can't be. Stuff like that, kind of like if you had a collection, kind of like if you had a sanitation department and you required the driver to have a CDL, but your collector on the back then becomes a CDL driver because they train him. He doesn't all of a sudden become a driver. He stays a collector until that position opens up that he can move into by applying for. So that makes it so that people are kind of frozen where they're at. So there can't be 3 supervisors because they're all qualified. You actually have a supervisor, and it makes a chain of command basically. So I'm requesting an addition to headcount or just permission to post this position, hire this position. I've written the job description that I've also attached. He'll perform duties as a street maintenance worker, and he'll do duties as an inmate guard. Inside of here are some of the provisions that I put in that he'll maintain the security and safety of the inmates. He'll maintain security and safety of the area in which and the vicinity in which the inmates are in. He'll provide for the needs and well-being of the inmates, including feeding the inmates and instructions. He'll conduct administrative tasks, including sign in, sign out paperwork at the jail. He'll also guard and care for the work program inmates and all others as directed by the prison and by the town. That's just some of the things that I put in here that he'll be responsible for. He'll also be responsible for doing regular street maintenance employee stuff. So I don't know when the inmates are going to get re-released, but when they are re-released, we'll send him to get training at the prison. Once he gets trained at the prison, he'll then be able to take the prisoners out and do work with him. I spoke with Rusty, the street department supervisor, and one of the things that he wants to do with this new employee is have him work with the streets department, of course, and learn how to do everything so that he knows it the correct way and the inmates can do it the correct way, because he'll technically be over the inmates when they're here. And that's where it's coming from. So the money should be about a wash, and it'll be a non-contract employee. It'll be an actual employee, and I'm looking forward to that because it was always a weird
For sure.
status.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? The inmates are supposed to start getting visitors the 10th, just past week. They should be getting close to being released to us if that happens. So if that happened, I didn't check to see if it happened. Somebody might know. But
Now, when you
anyway.
say approve a head count, tell me what that means.
Okay, in your packet, you'll find an approved position schedule, which looks like this. This list. This is the approved position schedule. Now, what this means is that, say, this mainly just says at the water plant, there's 4 total employees, there's 1 chief operator, and there's 3 treatment plant operator, 3 positions, which means there's also a water treatment plant trainee position that I have down as 0. The reason why I have it down as 0 isn't because we don't have one, but it's because everyone there, all 3 men, can move up once they get basically the credentials. So it makes it so that you know how many top positions you're going to have. And that's what I mean by addition to head
Well,
count.
from the minutes should reveal the fact that the motion to approve this approved position schedule, as well as the street maintenance worker, inmate guard job description in the town.
Yes, sir. That would be perfect.
And I'll put copies of those in the minutes.
Yes, sir. That's exactly perfect.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, we got a motion and second. Any more discussion? Call roll, please.
Robert Miller.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Bass.
Yes.
Kenny Brown.
Yes.
Jason Stelton.
Yes.
Jeff Denton.
Yes.
James Brummett.
Yes.
Passed.
Discussion, item C would be discussion and approval of marriage to sign a ground lease with Windrock Land Company for brush disposal at $1 per year. And that would be in Big Mountain Hall on their property.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion, we got a second. Mr. Brummett, I believe seconded. Any discussion?
Are we responsible for any runoff into the creek and stuff like that?
So you went out and inspected it, I didn't go out there, is there any streams nearby?
I think our only thing that we'll basically do is drive a truck back there, dump brush only, and then periodically push the brush back. I don't think it'll disturb any ground except for the brush itself, and if it did, then the brush itself would,
The whole contract, the whole agreement's in here, I don't remember reading that.
I read through some of it.
the brush should hold it in place. You should hold any dirt in place that would disturb, but it'll go grow grass as well.
So nobody else can get in there and dump.
You know, just be us. There's a gate with a lock, and we're the ones with access to it, and them too, but they won't dump.
Where is that location?
Big Mountain Hall.
Is all the way in the head back there, Thomas?
I
I
put
think
it
we
on
used that
packet,
spot before,
a map.
back in that area somewhere.
Here's a map, the very back page I attached it. The one in your mail-out package didn't have this map, so I reprinted and put it on the counters up here, the last page will have a map.
Anyway, you see how much brush is stacked out the city garage? That will be hauled out there as we can get to it.
Yeah, brush has been a real obstacle for us. The only other option that we would have, this is a really good deal, but the only option that we would have is to get a tub grinder and grind it up. We've been burying the brush,
We are still there.
burying. So, do you have a tub grinder, Jason?
I've looked at buying them, and I'm looking.
They're not cheap?
No, they're not. That's,
You can have something to dump it in there with, wouldn't you?
They arrive on a tractor trailer.
Yeah.
They got one out at Oak Ridge out there, it's a big thing, huge one.
Yes.
So this is a great solution. I had found out that we used to do this back years ago, but we didn't maintain our part of the agreement. We met with Brent Galloway, and I assured him that we will maintain our part of the agreement, and we will keep the area maintained. We will push the brush out of the way once it gets too large. It is too important not to maintain our end agreement, and it was very nice of him to do this for us. He really put a lot of time into things for us.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, we vote?
Yeah, let's vote. Call the vote.
Yes, call roll, please.
Robert Miller,
Yes, sir.
Jeff Bass.
Yes.
Kenny Brown.
Yes.
Lisa Stiltner.
yes.
Jeff Denton.
Yes.
James Brown. Passed.
Item D, I heard some early discussion on this, but we still have to bring it up. Discuss and possibly approve an awning to be installed at fire hall to be used during court and to be paid for by court.
Okay, well, I have a suggestion on that. Since Joe brought up that maybe in 6 months we won't have to have it, why don't we get a portable metal carport under $1,000 installed, anchored to the ground. When he says we're done with it, we move it to
Well,
the city
let
garage.
me give you some background. There was some discussion about building a courtroom, the central location. The Tennessee Supreme Court about 1991 ruled that for the Anderson side of Oliver Springs, the felony and misdemeanor cases had to be tried in a courtroom on the Anderson County side.
For sure.
To do otherwise, it would deprive the Anderson County Attorney General and the Anderson County Public Defenders of their authority to prosecute cases. And on the Roane and Morgan County side, since the Attorney General's in the same circuit, the courtroom has to be located in one Morgan County or Roane County. Now, the Roane County courtroom is right here. The Anderson County courtroom's at the fire hall, so you can build any new building you want to. But if you continue to have criminal jurisdiction, you have to have a courtroom and have those hearings in the county portion of Oliver Springs in which the charge arose. I hate to say that, but the Supreme Court of Tennessee has ruled, and to do otherwise would shut down our court or put us in contempt of court, where we'd all get to spend time in the local jail for contempt of court. Now, having said that, the Anderson County courtroom was marginally adequate to handle a volume of cases until about 2 years ago, and I don't keep statistics, I'm speaking from memory, when the caseload on the Anderson County side almost doubled. And court started at 1 and finished around 2:30 and 3. For a number of months, court started at 1 and ended at 4:30 or 5. I'm not complaining, I'm just simply saying. We could not get everyone in the courtroom. We get a half in the courtroom and the other half had to stand outside. To accommodate everybody in the courtroom, you'd have to triple the size of the courtroom building, or the courtroom itself, which means you'd have to increase the size of the building greatly, which is not cost effective. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, the Supreme Court of Tennessee, when they opened courts back up, ordered that not more than 6 or 7 people be in a courtroom at a time, excluding the judge and the court officers, and they had to social distance. So what that means is that we have to have generally 2 deputy court clerks at the door, and Ms. Walker sits near me because she's the one that collects a lot of the fines and costs. And what they do is they have the warrants and they call 6 names of the people standing outside, hopefully social distancing. Those 6 come in the courtroom, and if you see in this courtroom, the backs of the pews are numbered, and they sit every other pew, 3 on one side and 3 on the other, and then the same court officer brings me the warrants, the tickets, and I handle those 6, and when I finish those, we bring in 6 more, social distancing, and they wear masks and so on like that. What that means is that the people have to stand outside. So if the council in its wisdom wishes to buy an awning, I would say I have no objection as judge, but I would suggest that the awning be for the building, which includes the courtroom, because in theory that courtroom can be used for council meetings or club meetings or other types of meetings, and I think the fire department actually has training upstairs in the rooms over the courtroom, and the ambulance station is there. So it doesn't matter to me, but I am saying that at some point in the future, whenever that future is, we will be able to allow the courtroom to be filled. Having said that, if the volume of citations, and they've fallen off because of the pandemic, so there's not that pressing need for the size as of this moment, but if the volume of citations arises, then we would need the awning for those people who cannot get in the courtroom. Perhaps they could stand under it. Now, that works fine in the spring and the fall, unless it's raining. It is not fine in the winter when it's cold and wintry, or in the summer when it's blistering hot. I do not have a solution short of spending several $100,000 to triple the size of the courtroom. So if council wishes to buy it, that's council's choice. I don't think it should be paid out of the court funds because we don't have $10,000 budgeted to improve the courtroom. On top of that, since the court is not the exclusive tenant of that building, so to speak, the fire department has a stake in it, and the budget portion that funds the ambulance department has a stake in it. If council chooses to pay for it out of the court budget will have to be increased and amended. Money have to come from somewhere. Because if you pay for it out of the fines and costs, that pulls it out of the general fund. So,
What's your
I thought we had the money in there.
I do not know if we have the money or not.
Well, here's my next question I want to ask you.
I know Ms. Walker said we didn't have $10,000 in any of the funds for courtroom renovation.
Right, well, since I'm sitting there, you want to put a awning just over the door, right? That's what you're talking about.
No, it's the whole, it goes down the whole sidewalk.
You can't put it all the way down the whole sidewalk. It won't cover the police. It won't cover the fire department.
It's going to be an L on it, but
It'll be,
What's it gonna do, come around the building?
Yeah,
from what I saw, here's the building, right, there's the, y'all see that okay? And here's the doors. Can y'all see that? And here's the door where court is. My understanding is the awning's gonna go here and here.
The full length of the side?
Well, yeah, kind
The
of.
house, the side where they park the cars at now,
Yeah,
out in the very front.
now on top of that, if they all congregate together, they're not going to social distance.
We come into the
They're not
side
social
door.
distancing.
Yeah, Roane County, Anderson County, Gordon County will take your phone number and tell you to wait in the car, and in case it's called up, you call them on your cell phone.
And they can be, you can get a, you can get a,
I make a motion, we hold off for 6 months and revisit this later.
I second.
Wait a minute, we have a motion and a second before we did we?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
But let me just interject real
We got
quick.
the motion and second before discussion here. We need to do that.
Hey, if we built a new fire, police, EMS.
It's built over 3 county lines.
Well, I mean, the Anderson.
Just for the Anderson
Just
County
for the Anderson County side. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you, just, you know, that little seed has been planted in your hearts and
We're gonna
minds.
build it.
Hey, I've already been talking to multiple people about land, and it would be a prime location. It would be,
Do you want me to get rates on what a loan would be?
yes, yes, please. So, you know, something like a 150 by 100 building, 2-story tall. I'm talking nice. I'm talking something that we could be proud of and take pride in and be like, you know, we did that. And, you know, we don't have a parking issue. We don't have an attendance issue. We don't have people, our fire department and our police department have nice places where they can train and they can, you know, interview suspects. I mean, think about that. Just think about it. Just a thought. Now let's vote. Let's go and go home.
You voted to
Yeah, he made a motion, he
table it
seconded it.
away.
Ned made the motion, Matt seconded it. We need
Table
to
it
vote.
6
We got a
months.
second? Second. Those in favor, say, indicate by saying aye. Okay, we got one more, and it's already been done. Item E, discuss and possibly approve the purchasing of police vehicles. That's already been covered, right?
Yes.
That covered in detail. Is there anything else before we adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Got a motion, got a second. Those in favor, signify by standing.
Now, Mr. Murray.